Living in Los Angeles, it's like everything is an hour or so away, right? Like you want to go to the beach, it's about an hour away. You want to go to the mountains, it's about an hour away. You want to go to the grocery store, it's about an hour away, right? So I feel like in Los Angeles, we're very used to driving. But after COVID, I swear we were never going anywhere. So like when things started opening back up and the kids were like, hey, Dad, there's this new pop-up event that, is going on across town or whatever. I'd be like, oh, well, yeah, how far away is it? Like, oh, I don't know, 5 or 10 minute drive. Oh, my God, that far? I don't want to go that far. It's like we've lost all tolerance for stuff like that.
Yeah, you just change your view on the world, don't you? And you think,
it's like creatures of habit, right? Yeah. There's no time for that.
Walking out of my kitchen for like the last year.
Exactly. My commute has been a stairway. We are live with the community. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call. Copilot, SharePoint, Power Apps, and more might be a new name for you, but we will explain it here in a bit. Today is September 21st, or 25th. My goodness, I'm already not knowing what day it is. September 25th, I am your host, David Warner, and we from Quizzitive, and we are going to cover some amazing stuff. So let's take a look at what that is. We're going to see the latest updates on the community. We're going to talk about the Copilot prompt of the week, PNP.NET libraries, PowerShell. We've also got some amazing samples, script samples, Copilot Pro Dev samples, Power Platform samples, and then, of course, everyone's favorite time, picture time with Together Mode, so get those fantastic faces ready. And then we have 3 amazing presenters of the day. Pete is here, I believe, for the very first time. He's going to be presenting on SharePoint Hackathon, his hackathon entry on the Learning Hub, so we're excited for that. Vipul is back. He's going to talk about building a seamless Power Platform experience, integrating SPFx, Hilly, Webpart, and SharePoint list form customization. That's a hat trick of amazingness, so looking forward to that. And then the one and only Chris Kent, the horse whisperer himself, is here to talk about list formatting tips and tricks. I'm sure there will be murder and mayhem, but in a fun, family-friendly way. Right, Chris? Okay, let's talk about some of those resources that are available to each and every one of you. We've got our Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel. This is our community YouTube channel, which things like this call are presented on. A lot of demos, a lot of wonderful things. It is got content that is coming out each and every day. And YouTube keeps telling us, hey, you know what? You probably shouldn't do that. Your numbers might be better if you just put a few out a week. We say, forget it. We're breaking the rules in all the right ways because we have so much amazing content from each and every one of you. So the best way to keep up to date is to make sure that you go subscribe and like those videos. Let everyone know that you appreciate the efforts that go into making them. And then we've got our LinkedIn group for discussion. We've got our open source tooling. We've also got all of those sample galleries, so we'll see more about that. And of course, you don't need to remember every single one of these URLs, just one, maybe 2, the aka.ms/community/home, or our fancy community.ms top level domain will take you to our community site as well. So you're on a call, just in case you didn't know. And since you're here, we hope that means you like the calls. Well, we've got plenty more. And here is just a little update in case you missed the last couple of weeks. We still have our weekly product updates with Microsoft speakers. That is a Tuesday call that is every week, 8 a.m. Pacific. That is with those product managers and those program managers directly from the horse's mouth, the Emerald City that we get all the cool features and functionality coming out of. And so that is on Tuesday. We've got our monthly Power Platform. We've got our monthly Office add-ins. And what we've historically had is we called the bi-weekly sibling calls. They were really every Thursday at 7 a.m. Pacific, so it was still a weekly call. It just kind of flip-flopped the topics. Well, what we're doing is we're consolidating that. It's still every Thursday, 7 a.m. You can count on it like clockwork, but we're just renaming it to Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community Call, so it simplifies it. That way you don't have to explain the topics are flip-flopping every week now. We're just going to merge everything into one call. All the demos will cover the spectrum of Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, which includes things like Copilot, SharePoint, Power Apps, SPFx, and more. So don't worry, nothing's really changing other than the title and a simplification. It's every week, Thursday, 7 a.m. You can count on it no matter what. So get those aka.ms/community/calls links into your browser and download those invites. We'll be updating all of those, and you don't have to worry about any new URLs or anything. We're going to have some URLs that they all connect to one another. So if you already got invites, you don't have to get new ones. Don't worry about it. Everything will continue to work. Okay, now looking ahead next Tuesday to that Microsoft speakers call, we've got 3 awesome presenters. We've got a newbie to the community called Vesa Juvenit. I think he's maybe his first time. He's going to do awesome. Introduction to SharePoint agents. And then we've got Judith talking about Introduction to Knowledge Agent, which has just dropped recently, improve this site. And then Paolo Pialorsi, handling legacy users settings in SharePoint framework. So that is going to be a trifecta of awesome content. We can't wait. And if you're watching today and you think all these presenters are really cool and they're showing some cool stuff, and I feel like, hey, I got some cool stuff that I want to show off. Well, we want you to show it off, and we invite you to request to present. You could do that via this form right here, aka.ms/community/request/demo. Don't worry about overthinking it. Don't think, well, do I have something to share that others find value in? Absolutely, we promise you do. So don't overthink it. Put in your request. We'll get you scheduled. And if you need a buddy, let us know. We'll buddy up with you as well. So don't hesitate. And if you need some guidance as you're watching all these cool samples be talked about today, well, we got you covered there too. The Sharing is Caring program is scheduled for October 13th. You can go get registered today. That form is alive and well, and you can get signed up. Sharing is Caring is a program that provides hands-on guidance. So what does that mean? It means we're going to join a live Teams call. We're going to walk you through how to contribute and demystify things like GitHub, that Git of hubs, that hub of Gits, that confusing labyrinth of terms like fork and blame and raw and pull request. What does all that mean? It means that you're going to make a contribution to the community and be recognized for it, which is awesome. It's a safe space. It's live. We don't record it. Feel free to ask any all questions. It's a place to learn. So come meet other members of the community and collaborate and pick up a little something along the way. What is that little something? Well, as I mentioned, it's a contribution. So that means that you will be recognized using our community recognition program. This is powered by Credly, which means that all these badges are accredited. You get your own personal profile page that shows all of the badges you're earning across any of the Credly badges, whether it's our community badges or Microsoft or any other thing. And of course, we're in the middle of superhero season, so you still can get that bonus Porcupine Rises badge. And guess what's right around the corner? Next week, Hacktoberfest. October is going to be known as Hacktoberfest. And this year, all you got to do is make one contribution and you will get this Hacktoberfest badge. And because this is using official branding from Hacktoberfest, this 8-bit throwback, we're going to add a couple more. So be on the lookout for a couple of Back to the Future themed, great Scott, badges like the 1.21 gigabit contributor and Back to the Community. It's going to be super, super cool. So all you got to do, get opted in, aka.ms/community/recognition. Just got to opt in once. So if you're already in, you're good to go. We'll track all the work you're doing, and it's going to be awesome. And hey, by the way, sneak preview for all those in attendance right now. Guess what's coming back? Guess what's back? Back again. Back in 26. Yeah, it's awesome. Didn't rhyme at all. But hey, SharePoint Hackathon is going to be back in 2026. This was just announced today in a blog post that you can go read about. Again, we'll have more information as the information comes out, but we wanted to make everyone excited because this is an awesome opportunity that so many benefited by. In fact, Pete's going to talk about his entry today, and we've got the badges back for 2026. So check out that blog post. There's lots of cool things going on and coming for the future of SharePoint and SharePoint Framework. Hope you're excited. Start giving those brain cells a think on what you want to submit for that hackathon because it's going to be awesome. Okay, let's get into some project-specific updates. One of the cooler things right now we've got in terms of samples is our Copilot prompt library. So this is an opportunity for you to take all of that learning that you've been doing with Copilot and AI, that love language you've been building on, how to interact with it and how to prompt. You can share that with the world. So don't hesitate. This is one of the easier ways to contribute and earn some of those badges. All you got to do is submit what it is that you are finding valuable and interacting with Copilot with, and we'll share it. And in fact, you might even become the prompt of the week. Woo, Jim. He's got confirming understanding mode, so I won't go into the whole detail, but it essentially explains what we're trying to accomplish. Please endeavor for now to simply understand the goal, and it provides an opportunity for you to interact. So this is a great way to get recognized as well. And again, all these prompts, we're coming up with new ones. They don't have to also be business. They can be life hacking. It can be something that helps you in your recreational life. That's awesome. We've seen things like gardening. So don't hesitate. If you found some value in it, others will too. Congratulations, Jim. Thank you. All right, let's move over to PNP.NET libraries with Bert.
Yep, thank you, David. So today I spent some time merging PRs, which were due a couple of weeks. So apologies for the delay, but they got in, so that's good. And we really got some nice improvements, mainly around Pages API. So Christian did improve the flexible layout support that he created before. Then Shane Hunsaker did provide support for setting the header of a collapsible section. So if you have a collapsible section, you now just can have 3 types of header from different sizes of header actually, and we support that as well now. And then Adam did work on our feature to remove the page header, which was not working perfect, almost perfect, but not perfect. So he fixed that. So good thing that is done. And finally, Rafael Urbanski did add the property disable commenting on our list interface. So now you can use that property to read it or set it. So great work by those guys. And yeah, there's also framework work that I have to look at, which will happen as soon as possible. And I think with that, we can then move over to PowerShell. Thank you all, folks. See you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, Bert. Got him. What do you got for us on the world of PowerShell?
Hey, David. Thanks. In the world of PowerShell, it's the season of agents. So we added support for certain things related to, knowledge agents that was just released a couple of days back. So now you can enable, you can decide whether you want to enable that knowledge agent in your tenant and whether you want to allow that particular knowledge agent to be visible in certain sites. So you can specify all of that using this set PNP tenant commandlet. So we did add support for that. What else? We improved the remove PNP term command, so you won't be asked for confirmation. So we added support for force. So if you want to remove a term forcefully, you can do that via a force parameter now. So we did that. What else? We're thinking of .NET 10 support. That's something on the top of my mind. It's going to be released sometime in November 11. So we are looking into how we can make it work. Yeah, what else? V3 2.0 hopefully is coming soon. There are quite a few things that need to be done before that, but yeah, it's on the way. So yeah, what else? If you run into anything, just reach out to us on GitHub. Would love to hear from you. And thanks. Over to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I feel like we need to make some sort of like movie trailer around on this. In a world with PowerShell and 66 billion requests. I feel like it would resonate. All right, let's move into script samples. This is another great way to contribute to the community. Everybody, Paul is out today, but we want to recognize our new samples for across a number of spectrums. So we've got PNP PowerShell CLI for Microsoft 365 and PowerShell again by Paul, Siddharth, and Harminder. So thank you all. Again, this is Hacktoberfest. We've all got scripts that we use. Share them with the world. Again, Paul's an amazing guy. He's super approachable. He says he'll bite your hand off, but I'm told that's a good thing in Europe. So don't worry about that. It's not a threat. It's a great thing. Reach out to Paul. Let him know if you'd like to get involved. If you got a script, it's a great way to do that. And you can check out all the amazing other scripts that have been made available to the community. We've also got our Copilot Pro Dev samples. So this is your way to have Copilot extensibility recognized. So again, big thank you to Frank and Reshmi for their latest contributions. Again, this will be Hacktoberfest ready. So we're just around the corner. If you got a sample ready, just maybe give it a wait for a little bit of a week and you can double bonus on the community contribution along with Hacktoberfest. Paul is also handling this, so a great way. There's over 54 samples and growing, and you could get us to the next round. So please don't hesitate. All right, and Kate is also out, so we've got our Power Platform snippets. And hey, Vipul, I know that guy. I think we're going to hear from him today. He has contributed a sample Power Automate Flow to automate sharing of a Canvas app. This is a great way. Again, we've got a number of Power Platform elements here, samples and snippets and prompts. Snippets are a great way too, super easy. Just that YAML. And if you're unfamiliar, we'll share some links in the chat for you to get familiar. There's lots of videos and demos we've been doing lately. So it's a wonderful way to contribute, super easy, and you can be recognized. So thank you for everybody who's contributed. 71 samples, 55 snippets, and 120 prompts. Great stuff. All right, what time is it? Picture time. So get those fantastic faces ready. Let's go into together mode. And I think we've got, hey, look, it's looking pretty clear today. Nice, excellent. All right, oops. Let's do that. And I will, while you are all doing your hair, I got up super early today to do mine. So we will get Camtasia ready. There we go. Let's do that and that and that. And we are doing good on time. So let's, yeah. Awesome. There's Vesa. Everybody in. I see Gautam's fixing his hair. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah. Well, there we go. I'm good. All right. Anybody else want to try to get theirs turned on? We'll give it just a second. There's Chris. There's Chris in his Meow Wolf sweater. Meow Wolf. Meow Wolf. All right. Let's go. Let's give it just another second. All right. Let's do the countdown. Let's 3, 2, and 1. Great to see you all. Hey, there's Natalie. I sit next to Natalie. Awesome. Pete. Love it. Thank you again for all the amazing work that you're doing. Really would not be possible to have any of these initiatives or the samples or all these amazing recognitions without all of you. So we really appreciate it, as Chris looks insane. All right, everybody. Wonderful stuff. Thank you. Let's get this moved on over. Okay. All right. Let's get the show back on the road, and we are going to move into our demos for the day. So we're going to start with Pete Simpkins on the topic SharePoint Hackathon Learning Hub. So Pete, feel free to take on over the screen share. The floor is yours, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just going to pull up a quick slide deck. I promise I'm not going to stay in here the whole time. So I'm going to be talking about how to build a SharePoint Learning Hub. This is a mock-up that I did for the 2025 SharePoint Hackathon, and I'm really excited to hear that it's coming back in 2026.
Did we lose you, Pete? Did you accidentally get muted?
I think I accidentally got muted there. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, you're back.
Perfect. Alrighty, so my name is Pete. I'm a business applications architect for a company called Omni Workspace. It's not a tech company. We actually design interiors. So I technically manage the Microsoft Modern Workplace for a company that designs workplaces. Outside of that, I'm a regional leader for the MGCI, which is the Microsoft Global Community Initiative. We help volunteer and organize a bunch of free community events across the globe. One of those events and groups that I help manage is actually the Minnesota Microsoft 365 user group. So if you ever tuned into our calls, I'm the man behind the curtain, sending out all the emails, the announcements and everything. You can find me at Simpkins Pete across all the socials, though I'm most active down there at LinkedIn. So I'm going to quickly run through my site, talk a little bit about how we manage content within the site for learning information, as well as some highlights for the resource pages on the site itself. And then lastly, I'd really like to highlight the agent support that we actually built into the site for the hackathon. So my goal with building out this site was really to help highlight how SharePoint can make it really easy for companies or groups to manage their learning content. And more importantly, I'm going to help highlight this as kind of a small to mid-sized business approach. So this could be presented as a centralized learning hub, though it also applies really well for departmental roles, user groups. It also works really, really well for project or change management. So I'm actually kicking off a really big project with ERP stuff. It's likely that we'll end up doing a lot with this kind of concept to help support that whole business process change. Now, the other feature or part of this that I wanted to emphasize is, as I was building this out, I really wanted to use just the standardized SharePoint web parts. I promise I'll bake in some SPFx into next year's hackathon. But for this case, I really wanted to use a lot of the new announcements, the new features, as well as kind of enhance it with a couple Power Automate flows, and then obviously with Copilot too. So let's jump over into our site. I'm going to change which screen I'm sharing. Perfect. So this is the site that I built out. We're on the homepage right now, so I really wanted to emphasize or highlight some recent learning content. I've really enjoyed using the new carousel web part for this hero web part to help highlight maybe some of the key or most frequently used learning resources. So in this case, you'll see that we have just some general announcements around like what the site might look like, what's the purpose of it, and so on. I also don't ever want to be the only person to create content, so I always leave a call for speakers open for anyone across the organization to come out and actually submit here. We'll come back to that agent section there, but I also like to highlight and surface news posts. One of my favorite things as I lead training sessions or as I attend stuff is to go back and actually capture that information, post the recording back out, and share that via news in SharePoint. So you'll see that we have a handful of news posts down here at the bottom that we help emphasize. And then over on the right-hand side, I always like to highlight what's coming up in the future. So what are some upcoming learning events across the organization? Maybe we want to talk about team communication for our SharePoint owners or so on, maybe some new UI features or so on. As we get into content management, let me get over to the learning documents. You're going to see maybe a little bit behind the curtain, but in this case, I'm showing this business hasn't fully adopted the metadata only, so there are still folders. But as we click into the resources themselves, I want to highlight a couple things that we are pushing through here. You'll notice that I have columns here to help capture some of the key information about those files. So in this case, we're helping emphasize maybe what phase or part this project document relates to. We've created some columns here to help emphasize maybe what the roles that this document applies for, as well as maybe what tools or applications that it references. And those will come into play here in a little bit as we start to talk through the resource pages as well as some of the views for the diagrams. Just from a general governance standpoint, this is something that I really love to put into place for a lot of my sites for learning, is I really like to identify who actually owns the document. So who's responsible for maintaining the information, as well as identifying maybe who reviewed it last for relevancy, as well as what was the date. Now, as we start to talk through some of the Power Automate functionality that I like to build out, or things that you can help do, I always like to make an option where a user can actually go out and maybe flag a document as requiring review. So simple ways to do that is you could just have a manually triggered flow like this. Obviously, you could also add a button into a column if you wanted to do some more advanced kind of column management. But in this case, if I wanted to say maybe request that this one launches, what should happen is it should open up a little window and allow you to prompt say, hey, why does this document maybe need a review? And it'll go through and it'll actually change the status of that document to pending review, as well as map the information into the notes column. And then even better yet, it'll actually alert the individuals that are highlighted in that content owner and reviewed by column. So really good process just to help make sure that your process documentation, your training documentation is not only being maintained, but if there are any flags, right, that you have a way to actually get them updated. Additionally here, I want to highlight, we use those columns also to help highlight some of the views. So you'll notice that we build out views, maybe specific to the roles that filter down. So maybe I only want to see the files that are related to the salesperson or a designer or so on. You can have those right here, though we'll build them into what I'll cover next, which is our role pages. So the other thing that I really like to do is to take that metadata and actually pull it into and make it more useful at the site level. So if I have a designer that wanted to come out to the site and learn and see all of their information, they can just come out to this role page. In this case, it's going to help serve up that view within the document library so that they can interact with maybe just the documents that they need to reference. In this case, I am helping highlight some of the functionality of being able to use the group by feet functionality with metadata, make it a little more useful over here on the left-hand side. This also provides a nice opportunity to surface some additional links, maybe even link out to a community. So in this case, we have communities built for a lot of our roles so that they can go and ask questions. In this case, maybe it's a follow-up around what kind of manufacturer should they be working with for something. We also carry that same content all the way through into SharePoint or into the app pages. So this is another good way to kind of work your way through the tools and resources that you're working in. So being able to help go out and highlight maybe what is the tool, who owns it, or who are the subject matter experts, as well as surfacing relevant documents, again, from that document library that were tagged appropriately, as well as highlighting maybe some news and announcements. So those same metadata columns that we looked at around maybe the roles, the applications, we actually apply those into our site page library as well. So that's what you're seeing over here. These are all the news posts that relate to SharePoint. Additional resources. These are always things that I feel like people miss. I always encourage you to go out and make sure that you're capturing information about maybe what's the site purpose, right? Who owns it? Who has access to it? And additionally, in this case, a lot of this is around document management. So maybe what are the processes around the tagging of the information? What types of values? Maybe what views are out there? So building this out as additional resources too. And then lastly, one of my favorite features is we actually built in an agent. A lot of our companies are named after space kind of theme. So you hear Omni, Workspace, Atmosphere, Mezzo. So I had a little bit of fun here with our agent and named him Astro. But the idea here was that we wanted to be able to create an agent that anyone could go out and they could actually ask a question. I find, especially with learning content, A lot of folks don't want to necessarily feel like they highlight that they don't know how to do something, right? So an agent's really good at helping kind of break down that question kind of fear. So if I wanted to come out here and I say, maybe how do I print a quote? Maybe it's something that I don't do very frequently. This will actually go out and take a look at all of our training and how-to documents that are in the site and should come back and provide not just the response, but also will link back to the training documentation. Other prompts or responses that we can do here is if you needed to help find maybe who's the owner of that content and who last updated it. I've noticed that Astra is really good at helping pull that back. And all of this, you'll see great options here. Apparently, there's multiple ways that we can quote across our organization. If I get into the editing for that agent, for sources, we've just grounded it just in this entire site. So this does pull information from everywhere. For the behavior, it was pretty simple. So all I wanted it to do was provide helpful and accurate information while making it fun and engaging. I also did ask that the responses should sound like an astronaut space explorer. So really wanted to dive into that theme and have a little bit of fun there. That's all that I have for today. I really appreciate you all having me, and let me double check the chat, make sure that I'm not missing anything.
Very, very cool, Pete. I think a lot of it was just a lot of applause for what
awesome.
you did. Yep. Yeah, but feel free to scan through it as we move into the next one. Really, really great stuff. Thank you. And again, I believe, Pete, this is your first time presenting on the call, right?
This is my first time presenting at the call, so thank you.
Yes, yes, so welcome. We'll have you back again. So excellent. Vipul, I see you took over, so as you get your slides all ready to go there, I will introduce you. Vipul is here. He's going to talk about building a seamless Power Platform experience, integrating SPFx, Hilly, Webpart, and SharePoint list form customization. Can't wait. Take it away, my friend.
Thanks a lot, David. Hope I am audible, loud and clear.
Yep, you sound great.
Great. So hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about building seamless experience, which includes integrating or developing some web parts, custom web parts in SPFx using Hilly Webpart. I'm going to show you that what were the requirements, how I approached it in a real-time scenario, and finally, how I implemented a SharePoint list form customization in Power Apps. So this is Vipul. I work as a solution architect in Bosch. I work from Bangalore, India. That's a brief introduction about me. So let's directly jump into the problem statement and scenario. The scenario in my case was that my customer or the client, they wanted to utilize their M365 investments, which include SharePoint Online as well, because client had a feeling that they had the licenses, subscriptions, everything in place, but they are not utilizing it up to its fullest. So the ROI is not there. So they wanted to leverage SharePoint Online as much as possible. So that was the first requirement. Second, the old apps which they had, the employees were really wasting time. There were adoption issues. They were not flexible enough. The apps were not flexible enough because they were developed into old technologies or maybe legacy technologies. So they wanted a modern experience of all the apps, basically. The third and most important is that they didn't want it to go ahead with standalone Canvas apps in Power Apps. So as we all know that in Power Apps, we can either create a standalone Canvas app, we can have it inside a solution in the Power App Studio. But at the same time, we can have Power Apps by using SharePoint list form customization. We can customize any SharePoint list form using Power Apps. But in my case, since the customer were very used to of SharePoint, they didn't want it to go out of that experience. And that's where I just proposed an approach where they will be within the SharePoint. However, they will see a modern experience if I customize the form using Power Apps in SharePoint Online. So these were some of the statements and problem statements and scenario in my case. And now I will jump to the implementation approach. So what I did basically in this kind of scenario. So first of all, as I mentioned, that I created a seamless experience using Power Apps where the customer can still be inside the SharePoint list or library and they can open the form from there. However, it is looking kind of a responsive, modern experience because I have, let's say, customized it in Power Apps. So that was the first step I did. The second was that to make it to make it available on a SharePoint online page. Earlier, we used to have content editor web parts, or let's say modern script editor web parts. But the problem with modern script editor web parts, if I have to inject HTML, JavaScript, or my custom CSS on a SharePoint online modern page, so that is only possible either I use a modern script editor web part or I go ahead with SPFx, that is SharePoint framework approach. If I go ahead with a modern script editor web part, the challenge is that it is only available only for 24 hours. So you have to enable the custom script at a tenant level to use the modern script editor web part, but that is only available for 24 hours, and every time someone has to enable it or approve it. So this is not a right approach basically to use the modern script editor web part, and it is not at all recommended nowadays as well. So the modern way of development is SPFx. So I went ahead with the SPFx way, and I just created my own web part, which is I'm going to show you now, where as a user, I just created some Webpart properties so that you can basically provide your custom CSS path, your custom HTML path, your custom jQuery path, or whatever path you want. I just created that kind of experience, SPFX Webpart, so that it can be added on a modern SharePoint page, and whatever requirements I have, it can be implemented. So that is how I just leverage SPFX. So that was my implementation approach. So I'm just showing you the output, and then I will go towards the demo. So this will be the output which I'm going to show you. This is the search Webpart. This is a button to create a request from where the Power App screen can be opened. And these are some of the tabs using the Hilly tabs. However, as I mentioned, Hilly tabs, I used Hilly modern tabs, which is already available in the GitHub as a community contribution. But how I went ahead, I just extended that community code. So whatever a very great contributor has contributed in GitHub already, these modern Hilly tab. But what I did, I just extended that existing SPFX code as per my requirement, which I'm going to talk now. So this is one of the output, and this is a customized form, a list form in Power Apps. So that is all about. Now I will jump to the demo. Now, in the demo, what I'm going to present is first the Hilly tab implementation, how I extended the existing community code. Okay, and this is the screenshot. You can see that you can pass your custom, let's say CSS path, HTML path, JS path. You can specify where all your script are residing. That is a script folder URL, and so on. These are the Webpart properties. Then I'm going to show you that how I customized a list form using Power Apps, and then I implemented one more autocomplete functionality. Just that was the requirement. So that's all about the demo. I will directly jump to the real implementation. All right, so this is just one of the GitHub contribution. I just want to give credits to this particular contributor because this is the particular code which I used from the GitHub. This is already available. Anyone can download it. This is pretty good, really good example, good contribution, I will say. However, there was one more requirement in my case, so that's why I just extended this code. Okay, so this is the basically modern Hilly Webpart which I have used on my SharePoint online page. So this is the Webpart. You see my tabs, you see my request, all request. You can see all requests here, and one more, let's say one more tab, TUPLM. So these are the tabs, as you can see. Now, in my case, the requirement was that these tabs should be based on the user role, the logged in user role, basically. And that's where in the existing contributed GitHub community contribution, it was not there. And that's why I just extended that SPFX code, which I'm going to show now. So what I did based on the logged in user, because I have some permission groups at the backend. So I have admin group, as you see here. I have TUPLM group here. I have, let's say, for example, requester and TYD. So these are some of the groups. And if the logged in user is available in this group, then only these tabs should be visible. That was my requirement in my case. And that's where I needed to extend the existing Hilly tab code. So I will show you this SPFX example where I have extended the code. So this is an existing code. I will just show you the piece which I have added, which allowed me to implement my requirement. Okay. So in this particular default, let's say function get property pane configuration, I just introduced basically two more additional my custom property. One is the tab label and another is the target user group. Why I have introduced it? Because I wanted these tabs to be visible based on the existing logged in user role. That was my requirement. That's why I just introduced it. And then I just introduced one simple function to get the current logged in user group. So if I just scroll up a little bit, I'm sorry, it will be at bottom. So get current logged in user group. I just create, yeah. So here it is, get current user group. I'm just checking here that how to get the current user group, whether it's in admin group or let's say it's in some other group. That is how I'm just checking the current user group and just introducing a couple of properties. And that is how I extended the existing Hilly tab code in SPFx. Okay. So just to show you, I will edit this particular page, and to show you, this is the modern Hilly tab particularly. Okay, and if I edit it, there are some labels. Okay, as I said, if by default, if you download it from GitHub, you will get these properties like Webpart and tab label. These properties you will definitely get. But I have introduced one more property, which is target user group. Why I introduce it? As I mentioned, that the tab should be visible based on the logged in user only role. So let's say Webpart 2, my request should be visible to everyone. All request tab should be visible to admin. TUPLM should be visible to TUPLM group only. So that is how I've implemented this particular custom functionality in the existing Hilly tab community contribution. All right, so this is about the Hilly tab. Maybe what I can show you directly is currently, as you can see, I can see my request, I can see all requests, I can see TUPLM 3 tabs. Let's say, let's do it this on the fly. If I remove, let's say, for example, myself from the admin group, I'm just removing it for now just to showcase the demo. I have removed myself from the admin group. Now what should happen? This all request tab should be removed ideally. So let's see this in action, that if the all request tab is removed. So you see here, only I can see my request now. So all the other tabs are removed because I'm not the admin anymore. So that is how this permissions based on the role, this Hilly tabs has been implemented. So this is one part of it. The other part of it is the SharePoint list form customization in Power Apps. So the requirement here was that if someone searches here, let's say I search for demo, for example, and if I get the search or the search term, this is kind of a SAP term, which is already available in the application, then the user should not be allowed to create the request for the particular chapter or subchapter. But if I delete it, for example, and that is not available in the particular application, the user should be allowed to create a new request. So that is how I've implemented. You can see, like, for example, autocomplete. So by using the autocomplete, all the, let's say, search text is available at the backend, and that is searchable in the front end. Now, the last part of it, that how I customize it, if I click on this create request, I have a SharePoint list at the backend, existing list, for example, PST request list. I have just modernized or customized this form in Power Apps. And how you can do that, if I, let's say, go to the backend, for example, if I go to site contents, and there is a list called PST request, in my case, if I have to, let's say, customize this particular SharePoint list form in Power Apps, you can go to integrate, you can go to Power Apps, and you can click on customize form. And you can customize your complete form. That is how I customized it. So I customized it like this, where I have some fields, some requester info fields, some request description, and so on. And there will be some section available for the approval as well. At the bottom, you can see cancel, save as draft, and submit button. At the same time, I have also implemented translation in English and German. So if you see, I click on German, the text is getting converted to German. So I've implemented a multilingual kind of an app within Power Apps. That is how you can implement it. So that's all about my demo today, where I just showed that how you can add a tab kind of functionality, because my customer didn't want it Power Apps gallery. I could have created in Power Apps a gallery control. I could have used a modern tab list control, but the customer was not ready to include all those things. So I just went ahead by using Hilly tab and customized it a little bit in SPFx. And the other experience which I created was in Power Apps. Yeah, over to you, David. Thank you.
Awesome stuff, Vipul. Really appreciate you sharing so passionately with the community how you've implemented this. Chris, feel free to take on over the screen share as we wrap up with Vipul and get you introduced. But yeah, Vipul, really love, this is real life, everybody, showing how you can utilize multiple pieces of technology to work together, not in a siloed way. There isn't one to rule them all. There's no Highlander. There can be only one, right? So wonderful way of looking to see how you can combine multiple technologies together. Really appreciate you sharing with that. We look forward to your next demo. So thank you. All right, well, it is that time. That's right, horse whisperer time, warrior horse time, whatever you want to call it. Chris Kent, take it away.
What up, everybody? I'm Chris. All right, let's look at some list formatting stuff. All right. Woo, let's head over here. All right, so of course we head over to our classic warrior horses site. where the warrior horses are very, very concerned about world dominance, as we all know. And as a part of that, they are trying to compete with different intelligent species on the planet, right? We've seen run-ins with turkeys, rabbits, and so on. But the real threat, of course, is humans. And so, of course, they're tracking their population versus human population in our lovely list called World Dominance. Right, so here we go. And these are actual numbers. Fun, fun, fun. We have our, the number of horses, and we have the number of humans. Right, and then we've got some calculated columns that are showing us the horse population comparison to the world summary, where there's about 60 million horses out there, and the human population, there's 8 billion. So, the warrior horses have some work to do, right? So they're taking a look here, but one of the things they're trying to determine with this is how many horses per 100 people, right? It doesn't really make sense as a percentage, exactly, right? So doing it like this, right, is saying, hey, in Mongolia, we are doing a fantastic job. Right, we've got 127, 128, what do you want to call it, horses per person there. Or not per person, per 100 people, right? So that's like a whole horse and like a leg or something like that. Every person is entitled to. I don't understand Mongolian law. Don't worry about it. All right, that's important, right? So then we've got all these plans, but this is a pretty boring list. I mean, it's cool that we can, sort stuff. We got some views we can create. We have little summaries and all that, but we want some visualizations. What? All right, well, let's do it. All right, so in order to do that, I'm going to use a setup I've shown a couple times. I will show links at the end to them, some of the tooling. I'm just going to go quickly through them. We've done some demos specifically on those, of course. I'm referring to a couple of extensions, one for the browser, which is SP Formatter, which could be put in the in Edge or Chrome, either one. All right, that's this guy, SP Formatter. There's also a version that's over here in VS Code. Let's get rid of that guy. And then I'm using another extension called JSONify, which will provide syntax highlighting for this formatting as we write expressions. All right, so all of that, very exciting. Now let's come over here and let's start seeing how that works. So the way these work, these tools, is if I go to format this column, format this column, we'll go to advanced mode, and we can see I have my enhanced formatter is enabled. Which allows it to do things like auto preview, some other stuff. Let's get our column where we can see it. There's our column we're targeting. And let's come over here and let's just turn on SP Formatter, start a new session. So now we start the new session. A lot of times we have to bonk, bonk. There it is, right? So connected to the playground.json. So you can see that whatever I'm working on over here is showing over here, just to prove that is live. Well, right? So again, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but this is the setup I use for like 90% of all the formats I make. All right. Wow, indeed. So let's take a look at a format that we can use to express horses per 100 people in a little more understandable way. So we're going to start with a lovely format here where we're just going to add a box, right? So let's add some children, because I happen to know what we're coming towards, right? So children just means we want other elements inside there. So let's add another div inside, right? And this div, we're just going to give it some attributes. So let's add a class, that way we can make it look the way we want. All right, so let's add class, and we'll just add MS BG color theme primary, so we get this nice brown color. Of course, we're not actually drawing anything yet, so let's draw some things. Let's put a width here. We're just going to put a width of 10 pixels so we can see it. All right, and let's put a height of 10 pixels as well. We get rid of that. Let's see. Oh, we got a bad format here. Oh, well, we need that guy, and then we need, of course, our other element down here. Or what have we done wrong with our format here? Got our styles. Aha! Here we go. Formatting be hard, my friends. All right, let's format that document. Boom. All right. So there we go. Now we did it. We have a dot. Wow, that's exciting. Well, it's not really a dot. Let's make it a dot, actually. So there you go. We'll give it a border radius of 2%. Let's take out a comment. Now it applies. There we go. Now we have a dot. Ooh, that's exciting. But let's take that further, right? Now, I need 100 dots, right? So what do? I copy this, and I just start pasting, right? I'm kidding. That's insane. A valid way to do it, but maintaining that is no fun. We don't want to do that. So we're going to use a thing we've shown before, which is an advanced technique. It's a for each property, right? So we're going to add a for each, And when we add those, it's going to automatically suggest that we put an iterator, right? So now we need an iterator name. We're just going to call it we'll call it dot iterator, because that's what these are dots. And we're going to say, now normally we would put, say, a multi-person column, right? Or a bunch of choices here. We would just put the name of the internal column, or we put at current field, right? If it's an array type field, that'd be cool. We're going to use a technique called using split, which will allow us to create one on the fly, right? 1, 2, 3, right? We do something like that, and we say split that on the comma, boom, right? And then we're going to say, oh, we got to spell for each correctly, though. That's kind of important. All right, and let's put a comma. All right, so look, now we have 3 dots. Ooh, that's exciting. I find this hard to read, so I'm going to show you a quick little trick, which is let's take out that. And if we take out this comma, we just say blank, it'll actually just split every character, right? So however many characters we have in here is how many dots we're going to get. Ooh. So now we can just say like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, just to represent our 10th. Right now we have 10 dots. Wow, we did it. That's exciting, right? So let's take it a little further from there. So what if we want to make those look a little better, right? And of course we want, 90 more of these things. So I could, of course, add more dots here and then try and figure out wrapping and all sorts of stuff, but that's like so much more work. I'm not going to do that. So instead, we're going to nest this guy a little further. So the way we do that is we come up here, we've got our child here, child element. So let's just come up here like we're adding another element. And we're going to say elm type is, of course, div. Ignore all the Copilot suggestions. We don't care. Children, right? And then we're just going to say, there's our children. And we're going to do some cut and pasting for real this time. Cut that sucker. And we'll just paste it. And we're going to say, format this document to make it look pretty again. There we go. So now we didn't change anything, although you'll notice that suddenly our dots are now vertically expressed, which is not what we want. So let's fix that. So we're going to add our style element here. Go ahead and make that with a comma so it starts to apply. And then we're going to say things like display is flex. And we're going to say our flex direction is row. And then let's give it a gap of, say, 2 pixels. That sounds great. Okay. So by doing that, right, we're saying in a row, put these out in a row, and then we're going to say put a gap of 2 pixels between them. Ooh, look at that. We've got some dots. Well, let's go even further. Just to make this more obvious, I'm going to call this the column iterator now, right? Just to make what we're doing make more sense. And what if we were to take this guy and nest it by saying another for each? This is crazy. Crazy times. All right, so now we're going to say a row iterator, and we'll just do the exact same thing. And now, of course, we did it, but all our rows are actually all next to each other, so you can see where there's no gap between them. Well, we can fix that by once again nesting. Let's do another nesting. All right, so we're going to say elm type is div, and we're going to say our children. Ooh, children. Hello, children. All right, and we'll get rid of that guy. We don't need you. Bye. And we'll just go ahead and copy all of this, and we're going to stick it in there again. So by children, we're just saying draw this box inside this other box, is all we're really saying. All right, so format that document. So now we've got this. Ooh, now we're getting somewhere, right? So let's add some more styles here just to be consistent here. So let's say style, bom, 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 ba-dom, bom. These are sound effects. I don't need your special soundboard, David, right? And we'll say display is flex. And again, we're going to say flex direction is column this time. And we'll say another gap of 4 pixels, right? So, ooh, there we go. Now we've got 100 dots. Oh, that's exciting, right? And of course, we only really have these elements. So what's really happening here? So just so we understand, what we do when we add that for each, we are creating a template, right? So it's not creating just, a dot that it's redrawing. It's an actual template that will reevaluate for each item in the array. And because we're doing this twice, right, 10 times 10 is 100. So we got 100 lovely dots here, and we can start to do some exciting things with them. All right, so the first thing we're going to take a look at here is changing this around just a bit so that we can then figure out what I'm doing. Okay, so I want to show another thing we can do, right? So the scaling's fine. This is pretty big. It's not quite what I want. So let's take a look at how we could make scaling work. right? So this is where we're going to look at EM, right? So M units, right, which comes from old typesetting, right? And the idea is 1 M is 1 font size worth. So 2 M's is 2 times the font size. So by default, the font size is 14 pixels in the SharePoint list, right? So we can use that, or we can set our own, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to set a font size here. So we'll set a font size instead of 10 pixels. We're just for our fun, we're going to say 4 pixels, right? So then if I come down here to this width, instead of 10 pixels, I say 1 M, right? I'm going to say 1 M for this as well. And then we'll say, like, 0.25 M's for the gap, right? And we'll do the same for the other gap, right? 0.25 M's. So do you see how that started scaling, right? So that allows us to control the scale of everything we're drawing based on this value here. So I can go 6, right? Heck, I can go 60, right? But that's the idea. So now, because I'm doing all of my other values as these relative sizes using the M units, right? I can control everything from the root element or whatever level of the hierarchy I want, right? I'm not actually doing the root element. We'll talk about why here in a moment, but that's pretty cool, right? So let's take it back down to 4 pixels because we just want 100 tiny little dots. Woo! And what you'll notice here is we can actually do things like padding, right? And the way this works is the font size for the element gets determined first, and then the font size for the element and any children that don't override it because it's inherited are then used to calculate all the other sizes using this M units. Wow, that's cool. All right, so now let's make this thing a little bit dynamic, right? Because right now it's just a bunch of dots, and that's, super exciting. But let's make it better. So what we're going to do here is we're going to change this class, and we're going to make it dynamic, right? So let's make an expression. We start expressions with our equal symbol, equals, and then we're going to say if, and we're going to say, this is where we're going to see a loop index. Now you'll see that I'm getting things like this IntelliSense. I'm getting, coloring of these things right as we go. And the reason that's happening, that's all that JSONify stuff. So if you add JSONify, that's going to make this a lot easier to write these because it's going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. You're going to know, oh, if I want to reference the iterator, I don't just write row iterator. I have to write it in single quotes, right? I don't write in the field syntax, although I can write in the field syntax if I want the individual value. We'll go over that in a moment. Woo, woo, woo. All right, so let's just say how we calculate the dot we're in, right? We're going to get the row iterator. So that's the loop index. It's a zero-based index, right? So now if I say, actually, let's go back and let's not do that part yet. Let's make it more obvious what we're doing. So an if statement, right? If we say if it's true, then you're going to do the first one, all right? So MS, BG, color, theme, primary, all of these classes are listed on our list formatting site if you are interested. Let's see what we got there. Did you spell it right? Sure. Okay, so now we've said, hey, when it's true, make them theme primary. When it's false, make them this neutral gray. Ooh! So now we know those work. So now let's build in what that expression was going to be. So we're going to go back to what we were started to do, which is our row iterator. And we're going to say times 10, right, to figure out where the heck we are. And then we're going to say plus the loop index of the column iterator. Right? And that sort of works, but we need to add a +1 because it's zero-based, right? So now we have a +1, but we need to say less than or equal to, and we're going to say ceiling, just get rid of the decimal spots because we're not doing partial dots here. And I'm going to say at the current field. Ooh, look at that! So now we're saying whatever that value was, right? This one was over 100, so it's going to make all the dots this lovely brown for the horses, right? And so on. So now we start to see a much better visualization that makes it much more obvious. Hey, how are we doing in terms of our relative proportion? Ooh, that's cool. All right, so that's an expression we wrote. Wowee. And then we could go a little further, right, if we wanted. I'm just going to go ahead and skip to that just so we can see what we got. So I'm just going to grab this form of this. Is a sample that is available to you, which I will link to in the end. That is not how you cut and paste. Let's copy that, and I'm going to paste it back in here. Yeah, there we go. So all this did was, I don't know why it's suggesting that extra crap. Okay, what we did here is we just took, we had 2 children now, right? So we have this one, which was the chart we built before, and now we've added this other one here, which is just putting out the value with some text underneath it. All right, so we can see it in its full action, and then it's centering it up here. But the main thing it's doing, though, is you'll notice that I'm setting even the font size to an M, right? So I'm saying whatever the font size of the very root element is, scale this based on this relative scale of that, then everything else will scale based on the scale from that. And I'm even doing the same thing down here where I'm scaling things up a little bit, right? So again, I'm able to take this and I could say things like 18, right? Or I could say 28, right? So the idea is, by building it that way, we can scale the heck out of this. Wow, right? We could even take that off entirely, right, and have it scale based on the 14 pixels of the SharePoint list, right? Which we're not going to do for now, but that's cool, right? So if we save that, we can go even further if we want to, right? So what if we wanted to take this, and that's very, very cool, right? Let's actually take out the font size so I can, well, we'll leave the font size for now. Nah, we'll take out the font size, fun. I'm going to take it out so that it scales correctly. All right, so now it's just scaled based on the SharePoint list font size. Okay. Now if I close that, which I did not save, so let's format this column and save that. Bonk, bonk. There we go. Save. Okay, now we're getting rid of that. Okay, so now we come over here. I've got a lovely list here. Let's go a little further, right? So let's create a new view. Let's add a view. Well, first let's show you one other thing. I got all sorts of ideas of what I could show you here. All right. So just for fun here, let's grab this emoji one just to show you that it could be done with emojis instead if you really wanted to, right? There we go. Let's scroll that back over. Right, so we're just changing the text content based on that dynamic thing, all right? So if we want to do emojis or we want to do something else or we want to do other colors or different shapes, all that's pretty easy to do. And again, it's still just using a relatively small format here. All right, so that's good, but let's not do that. All right, so now let's add another view. So let's add a view. Let's add a gallery view. We're going to call it courses per people. Yep, I may have tried it before. All right, so let's create that. And so now we've got this gallery view, and that's okay, because again, this is helpful in line, right, to see this, but that's not very legible comparatively. So let's come here and let's customize this view. So let's format our view, and we're not going to do a card designer. We don't care. All right, so we're just going to cut and paste this one and take a look at it. All right, so if I grab this gallery and we paste that here, all right, let's turn that off so we don't see anything. And look at the format over here. The idea here is we've just got sizes and so on. And we've got a column formatter reference. But what you'll notice is we suddenly have scaled this whole thing. Save and close. So everything is now scaled. And the way that got scaled is because we didn't set that font size at the root. It's going to override the scaling here in the column formatter reference. So when it grabs the column formatter reference from that column and sticks it in here, right now we just put a title, we put that there, we don't have to cut and paste all that again. It will now scale it as needed, right? So you could really use this font size scaling to pretty cool advantages and effects. All right, let's jump over to slides and wrap her up. Slides, where are you? There you are. Okay, so again, this is that JSONify tool. The main thing we're using it for is to do your horse script recognizing, right? So you can take your formats just like this. Oh, look at how pretty they get. I'm only showing this because there are a few tokens that are unique to the Warrior Horse theme. Any theme could use them, but you switch the Warrior Horse theme, you'll have even more stuff inside there. Okay. All right, and then this other tool, which is awesome, I love it, it's straight up magic, is the SP formatter. I use it all the time. Highly recommend it. You have two extensions, one for VS Code and one for the browser. All of these things are open source and free. All right, so let's quickly go over for each. The reason we put those as sub-elements is because you cannot add a for each to the root element. It's required to be within at least one sub-level down in a child, which makes sense in some ways. It's great. This is how you write what it is. Again, you can write a current field. You can reference some other field that is an array type. Or you can do our trick, which is a split. I didn't show you, but if you put a space right there, it will break. So no spaces in your split. Very sad. All right. And then what it does is it creates this virtual field out of the iterator name, so you can reference it here. So if you have a value in there, in our case, we didn't care about the value. We only cared about the position. But if you want to reference the value, you can do that. If you want to reference the position like we did, you can use the loop index, which again is zero base. So make sure you're accounting for that by adding 1 if you want to bring it up, if you wanted the actual numbers or so on. And then, of course, you just reference those inside the quotes with the name. So you don't use the field syntax for this. You just go that. Wow-wee. And then column formatter reference. This is what we talked about. You're just going to put the name of the internal column. All right, so it's column formatter reference, and then whatever that column name you want, you can pull that in. Now, column formatter references work both in column and view format. So you can get crazy with your inception, but you cannot nest them, right? So column formatter reference can't contain a column format that also has a column formatter reference. Oh, sad. All right. So then the last one here is those relative sizes using those units. So this is a really, really cool and really powerful way to not have to go back through and edit each individual size. Making them all relative is pretty great for the scaling. That way, if you want to use your format in a view format as well, like we showed, or you want to do something like show it in a Webpart where it's just one item, all of that can work nicely without having to re-implement that everywhere, and you can just update that color or whatever you update in one spot. Okay. Note here is this hierarchy overrides and relative hierarchies. It's just a fancy way of saying if you put a font size somewhere, you can override what the inheritance is coming from. And if you specify that font size in IMS itself, it's a relative hierarchy, which is what we showed. Woo! All right. And finally, resources. Go get them. So this is a sample that I didn't actually publish because I didn't make the sample JSON, but it will be published very shortly after this. Be sure to check that out. It's got all three of the formats. It's got the emoji version. It's got the gallery and so on. And then these are your tools, including the lovely horses. All right. And that's it for me. Wow-wee.
Wow-wee. Wow-wee. Thank you, Chris. You might even say you really helped us connect the dots on M units. Connect the dots, M units. Yeah. Do that with your mouth. All right. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, excellent job. Always a pleasure to have your examples and demos on the call. Pete, Vipul, Chris, excellent job by all three of you. Really appreciate you coming to the community call and sharing your passions. We would, again, not be able to have these initiatives without all of you being willing to share. So everybody out there, go fill out that request form. Let's get you on the schedule. All right, let's wrap this up. We have our official Discord server. We're up to almost 3,000 members in our Discord server, maybe even above that. But if we're not, you could be the 3,000th. And if you are, we'll say thank you. You rock. Awesome. Thank you. All right, get in there. aka.ms/community/Discord. We also would love to get some feedback from you, so please don't hesitate to let us know if there's improvements to be made or some other things you'd like to see. Positive feedback is always good too. We'd love to hear if you're enjoying these. It helps us ensure that we are meeting the expectations of the community, which is absolutely our goal to make sure that you find this time and initiatives valuable. So definitely let us know. Recording will be available in 24 hours or less on the Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel. You can subscribe today at ak.ms/community/YouTube. Follow us on all the other social networks. The next Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call will be next week. We usually say it's 2 weeks from today, but remember, we're normalizing that name now, and it's going to be every week. So October 2nd, 1 week from today, and the next Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Microsoft Speakers call will be in less than a week on September 30th at Tuesday at actually 8 a.m. Need to update that slide. We'll get that updated for you. But you can get access to all the calls at aka.ms/community/calls. Really appreciate everything you're all doing. Keep doing awesome. Keep enjoying the rest of the week and have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye now. Bye.